Hi, everybody, it's Mimi, and I'm talking today about one of my greatest manifestation stories. And I just wanted to kind of share, and this is really before I knew about law of attraction, when I was in my early 20s. And it's just such an incredible story. I love telling it, I love thinking about it, and I've reflected on it many, many times. Um, particularly when I'm trying to create something that might seem a bit bigger than, a parking space, although I manifest those all the time. But it's such an incredible story that I thought I would share it with you guys, and hopefully it gives you some hope and inspiration for your biggest manifestation. So I live in Sydney, Australia. I'm originally from the US. You can probably tell by my accent that I don't sound as Australian as maybe Australians who were born here. But yeah, I was coming here to visit a friend some years ago, and I was in the US working for an internet company. And I was sort of lackluster about the job. I'd been there for a couple of years, and I really, really wanted to move out of Los Angeles, where I lived, where I grew up. And I had really felt this growing desire, this kind of unignorable internal pull, I'll describe it as, to move out of Los Angeles. I had no idea where I wanted to go. I kind of considered a few different places. I looked at San Diego, which is a couple hours outside of Los Angeles, heading down towards Mexico. And I'd even taken a break from my work to kind of go down there and get a feel. But at that particular time, my belief was I'm not going to be able to work in my field here. I'm not going to be able to find employment. And obviously, therefore, that's the outcome that I created. However, I had this friend in Australia and decided to come visit. And I remember thinking at the time, so I was coming for a month, which is probably the longest vacation I'd ever had. And I'd never been to Australia. I knew very little about Australia at the time. And so I really didn't have any kind of visuals or expectations necessarily of what I was going to see or experience. So, some of the kind of manifesting techniques like living in the end, I didn't even really, I didn't know about that at the time, but I also didn't have any visuals to go on. Of what I might experience in Australia. But I remember being very, very open to the possibility, very excited. And as a result, I decided, so I lived in an apartment on my own, and I decided to give up my apartment because at that time, obviously being away for 30 days, a whole month's rent, that was a lot of money. And so I sold a bunch of things and I packed everything else up and put it in storage. There was a few boxes that I gave to my family, however, and this was kind of the start of what would ultimately become kind of living in the end. Unbeknownst to me at the time, though, I just thought, well, I'm going to go there for a month, but gosh, what if I end up loving it and I want to stay? So I packed a box. I believe I had packed it for like the next season. So I was going in summer, which in Australia is in January. December to February is summer. And so I was going to Australia in the middle of January. And so I remember packing a box of clothing that I might use later in the year, which again was thinking ahead and creating the possibility that I might love it, I might want to stay, and therefore in time I might need more things. I was only coming with a bag, a duffel bag, a sizable kind of duffel bag on wheels. But it obviously was only going to be really one season full of clothes, and it was obviously summer appropriate clothing, not winter appropriate clothing. And so that was kind of this first step in being open to the possibility of moving to Australia, which was not even really in my mind at that point. It was just, I was open to a different experience. I was open to being somewhere else and living somewhere else. I was just kind of no longer really inspired in Los Angeles and was really looking to be inspired by another place, but I didn't know what that place was. And I had no possibility to make money there. I didn't know how I was going to get a job. I hadn't really even looked into how I might stay. I hadn't really gone beyond or thought too far into the future. I was really just very much in the present. And obviously, reflecting back on it now, it sounds completely nuts. But it was just where my mind was at the time, that I was just kind of excited about the possibility of going to Australia and open to the possibility of what might happen beyond that. I wasn't trying to orchestrate or control or plan too much in advance, except for, I was going to get rid of my apartment. But I do remember thinking, gosh, what if I really love it and I want to stay? What am I going to do about my job? Because again, I was sort of lackluster about my job at that point. I've been with the company a couple of years, and it had been amazingly fun in the beginning, but I was kind of, not feeling the same as I had felt. I wasn't feeling inspired, and I was again open to the possibility of something else coming across my path. I had no idea what it was. I had no idea about the job market in Australia. I had no idea about salaries, visas, all of that necessary stuff that I would ultimately need to know about and come up against. But at the time, I knew none of that, and I didn't try and pre-plan any of that. So yeah, I came to Australia, absolutely loved it, decided pretty quickly that I wanted to at least try and stay. Funnily enough, though, before I actually came to Australia, so again, I'm giving notice on my apartment, which would have had to have happened at least a month before I went away, and obviously started packing things up. 10 days before I was meant to leave for Australia, the company that I had been working for, and that had seemingly been successful for several years, it was a internet company, a fully online company, went bankrupt. And basically one day, all of the employees were pulled into two separate rooms. So myself and colleagues were pulled into one room, and a friend of mine and a bunch of other colleagues were pulled into another room. And basically everyone was told the company was filing for bankruptcy, that they would be winding up the business. Group A, sort of the group that I was in, was told that we were being made redundant immediately and we were being given a payout, which at that time was just completely crazy to me. Again, I was a couple of years out of university, and so to be able to get money in advance was just, I felt like I'd win the lottery, to be honest. The other group of people that were brought into, say, room B, were told that they were also going to be losing their job, but in 3 months' time. So for the next 3 months, they had to wind up the company, which would have been absolutely brutal. And if they wanted to get their payout, they had to stay with the company for 3 months, knowing they were going to lose their job, and then they would get their money. So the outcome that happened to me was amazing. It was perfect. I was leaving the country anyway. I now had money in my pocket, which at the time was worth double. The US dollar to the Australian dollar was worth double at the time. So I had 6 months' salary in my pocket in my early 20s. And as I said, I felt like I'd won the lottery. So, and financial security, had always been very important to me. My parents were not wealthy, and they very much were of the mindset of money doesn't grow on trees. They're always fighting about money. There was always kind of this aura of shortage of money in our household. So, I had this kind of money shortage consciousness. But obviously in that moment, I was just open to the possibility of something happening. Funnily enough, though, I had been, before this point, thinking about, gosh, what happens if I decide to stay in Australia? What am I going to do about my job? Because I don't want to spend the money, a couple of $1,000s, which obviously is a huge amount of money by any means, but certainly in my early 20s, that was just astronomical amount of money that I wouldn't have wanted to come up with frivolously. So yeah, I was thinking, gosh, well, how am I going to give notice in my job properly? Maintain integrity with my employer. If I'm overseas, I'm going to have to basically give them notice effective immediately and never come back. That's not going to be a great outcome. So, it was on my mind. It was something I was thinking about. I didn't have the solution. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just kind of set it aside. And then here comes this amazing solution where I'm made redundant and given 6 months' salary. Gold. So again, that was kind of another thing that fell into place for me. Came to Australia, ended up, I think I applied for a few jobs, just through a website, I believe called monster.com at that time. This is going obviously some years back. And applied for this job, ended up getting it, and it was at a fashion forecasting company in an amazing, affluent, fashionable, luxurious, popular, famous part of town called South Yarra. And funnily enough, before I had gotten into university, I had been considering going into fashion design. So suddenly I find myself, I had no career experience in fashion design. I'm working for a fashion forecasting company where fashion design and clothing range design is happening. And I get hired as a studio manager because I'd been working in design and web development at that time. So I felt like I'd won the lottery again in this amazing job opportunity. Had this, amazing boss that was really progressive female, had an incredible career. She owned a winery. I ended up designing a wine label for her winery that's actually still in circulation in stores in Australia today. I actually just saw it the other week and about had a heart attack. And then, so, financially things fell into place. And then not only that I got money that would set me up to find a great job, but I found a great job within 2 weeks. I moved in, I got a place with some people in town, amazing roommates. I ended up, staying friends with, meeting lots of other people through them. And it just carried on from there. I mean, I'm trying to think of all the amazing things. I was dating someone when I was initially living in Australia. Their family was amazing. They massively supported me. I bought my first car when I came to Australia some months after, and my boyfriend's dad was really supportive and helped me check out the car, make sure it was a good car. So all the so the support that I needed, I found an amazing, incredible, big group of friends in the first place that I stayed, which I think I stayed for about a year. Before I moved with one of the flatmates from that place to another apartment, kind of more in a cooler part of town. So there were so many things that fell into place about coming to Australia. I live here now. This is my home. I'm a citizen. And I'm Australian, obviously. So I just wanted to share my story because I knew nothing about law of attraction. And as we all know, law of attraction is happening whether we believe in it or not, whether we're actively trying to practice it or not. It's the law of the universe. Really what drove what I created was just faith and trust and belief, knowing and being really clear on what I wanted. I know I wanted to move out of the US. I know I wanted to get a different job. I knew the things I loved to do. I knew what I was passionate about, creativity, design, etc. And I suddenly found myself in exactly that type of job with very little effort. I had no experience working in Australia when I came here. I just landed here with experience from a completely other part of the world. And was able to find a really fantastic job with a great company that set me up for more fantastic experiences. So I just wanted to share that to highlight to all of you that anything is possible. Anything is possible. And I think just by believing that concept in itself will set you on the path to being open to possibilities. For me, what created this incredible new life and journey in Australia was just being open to the possibility and backing myself that I would figure it out along the way. Or really, I didn't figure anything out. It came to me. Opportunities, inspiration, ideas, inklings, intuition came to me. And as I said before, the drive to come to Australia and be open to the possibility was this huge, strong, instinctual pull. And Oprah talks about this a lot in that she says, the universe will come to you in a whisper and then it will just get louder and louder and louder until you listen. And I really believe that you can never really miss out on what's meant for you. And you can never really miss out on what you desire. So never be upset if you think a specific outcome was going to happen and it hasn't happened the way you've expected it. Everything always works out, and what you desire, if you stay rooted and connected to it and stay faithful in the belief that it will come true for you, it 100% will happen. It will happen without significant effort. It will happen without hardship or difficulty, and it can be a huge amount of fun. And I am reflecting on this amazing moment in my life where I, took a huge detour in my life, and set up a whole new life for myself with fondness. I look on that experience because, as I said, I had no idea how I was going to create it. I didn't know it was even a possibility, but I was open to it, and I had fun along the way. So I hope that your biggest dreams and desires come true easily, quickly, and with lots and lots of fun along the way. So I hope that helps you, and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye now.